I think it's time for Should Ash Catch This Pokemon? Part 2.
Pokemon! 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 Pokemon!
Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon anime discussion. In this particular video, of course, I am doing the second part to Should Ash Catch This Particular Pokemon? In the previous one, we went from the starters all the way to Salandit, which was the last revealed Pokemon. So, of course, we're going to do another one. And this one, of course, we're going after Salandit, and of course, we're going to be discussing up to type Null and those Pokemon that were revealed on September 6th. So whatever revealed after the September 6th up to this particular point on September 6th or whatever, that's what we're going to focus on. So while I may discuss rumors, although it's unlikely that I will not be talking about the final stage starters unless they are absolutely confirmed. Even though they may be likely. I will also, even though with the revelation of Alolan forms, be not talking about the Alolan forms. That will have its own separate video. And by that I mean when we get close to the release date of Sun and Moon, whatever Alolan Pokemon are revealed at that point, I will be doing an Alolan video of Should Ash Capture That Pokemon. There may be some excluded for particular reasons, but I guess we'll check then and wait and see what's going on. Also, because I don't know if Ultra Beasts are considered Pokemon or anything of that nature, they will also be excluded. And even if they turn out to be something that you can get within the games and they have their own typings and stats and abilities, I probably won't go over them since it seems unlikely that those will be entities that Ash would catch, but maybe I'll still go over them anyway if it's confirmed like that, because I am going over the legendaries as well. Although no new legendaries as far as I'm aware were revealed technically, so of course let's just almost jump right into this. So a quick refresher of what this series is about. Should Ash should Ash not catch a Pokemon? For those particular options when I talk about, those are my objective feelings and opinions on the thing, not entirely personally based or whatever. I just try to see the objective reason why Ash should catch something and why Ash should not capture something. And of course, I will discuss that. And of course, obviously some will have a little bit of personal opinion in it, but my personal opinion will be more biased. You know, I'll try to be objective as much as I can, but of course I will be biased when it comes to the personal opinion parts. So of course, let's start off with an evolution of a Pokemon that I previously talked about in the previous video, and of course that's Gumshoos. Why should Ash capture a Gumshoos? Gumshoos strikes me as a Pokemon that could have a distinct personality on Ash's team. Perhaps the Corphish Hawlucha of the team, a Pokemon that Ash has that has a lot of personality, or at least a lot of notable personality characteristics. I imagine a personality something like that to investigate and to study, to be like this wise Pokemon, kind of sort of Pokemon on his team that gets a lot of attention in that particular aspect, and I feel like it would have some interesting dynamic with Ash. Would Gumshoos be the wise and learned member of Ash's Alolan team, for example? On top of that, we can always say that Ash has a Totem Pokemon, at least in regards to Pokemon Sun anyway. So why Ash should not catch a Gumshoos? While Gumshoos is a more interesting and viable than just Yungoos, its pre-evolution, it still doesn't possess any characteristic of why this normal type should be on Ash's team. especially with all those other Pokemon that were revealed, but we'll talk about them later on. I'm still looking for something, like I've said before when I talked about this, I'm still looking for something like Exploud or Snorlax, something that's beastly, that seems like it would make sense for something like that to be on Ash's team as a normal type. Though I suppose it'll depend entirely on the move pool that Gumshoos learns. After all, Exploud can learn a lot of amazing attacks you wouldn't think it could learn, but it can. So, like I said, I feel like Exploud and Snorlax are the only pure normal type archetypes of design or whatever that I'd feel like would make sense to be on Ash's team. Yes, even though Ash never had an Exploud. My personal opinion. Gumshoos is fine, but I feel like it would be a waste of space just being a normal type. Like I said, in regards to my why should Ash should not catch it, it's not really a normal type Pokemon that seems like it stands out enough that it would make sense to waste a slot on Ash's team. Especially, as I said a little bit earlier, along with all the options that were revealed, are we really going to waste a slot on Ash's team? I would assume it would have access to all the Fang moves, of course, but unless it can learn them naturally, I don't think I would be okay with it being on Ash's team. And even though I feel like Gumshoos would work well with the traveling companion of Ash, and even then I feel like it would make more sense for it to be on a traveling companion as a team member. That being said, I do kind of like Gumshoos a little bit more than Yungoos, at least in regards for Ash. So I'm fine with giving it an extra half point from Yungoos. So I'll rate my desire for Ash to get a Gumshoos as a 4.5 to a 5 out of 10, because that was Yungoos. Yungoos was 4.5 if you didn't remember. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the Stufful line. So, of course, Bewear and Stufful came right after Salandit. Well, I don't know about right after, especially in regards to Stufful. That might have been a couple of months after Bewear. But we're going to talk about the Stufful line as a whole, as I said I would when they were revealed as such. So why Ash should catch a Stufful or even a Bewear. Stufful and Bewear strike me as strong Pokemon with interesting normal fighting typing. It's like a more viable alternative to Meloetta's pirouette form, and I imagine it would be a very powerful Pokemon used by Ash. You know, like Meloetta's pirouette form is a normal fighting type, and maybe they didn't want Ash to get a mythical Pokemon or even a legendary, so I feel like Bewear would make a lot more sense. Why Ash should not catch it. Stufful and Bewear are held by their appearance and ultimate viability. While I don't have a problem with Ash with Stufful or Bewear, it strikes me as a Pokemon more suited with like a female traveling companion. Not that it's feminine, but it makes more sense for Bewear to be with a female traveling companion, like when Dawn had Mamoswine, even though Ash with Mamoswine would have been cool, or, you know, Iris with Dragonite, and I guess even though it's just the pre-evolution, Serena with a Panchant. This seems like a Pokemon that would seem more likely it would be with, of course, a female traveling companion, Ash himself. My personal opinion. I won't mind if Ash captures Stufful. That being said, it is a fighting a normal type. While Ash can double on types, I feel like if he catches Stufful, it'll prevent Ash from getting more unique Pokemon that look better with Ash. So honestly, I would most likely rate my desire for Ash to catch a Stufful a 6 out of 10. Not bad, just not desirable. And of course, let's move on to Mimikyu. Why Ash should catch it. A Ghost Fairy Pokemon is definitely a unique combination for Ash, and Ash should probably catch something like that. That's really the only objective thing I can say, because why Ash should not catch a Mimikyu. It's Pikachu. If Mimikyu didn't look like Pikachu, if it had other forms that were revealed, I wouldn't hesitate to say that Ash should catch it. Unfortunately, having two Pikachu-like Pokemon, even though one is only a doll copy, not a type copy, would be very off-putting to something more visually unique, is what I'm saying, because it's too much like Pikachu. I feel like it was kind of the problem with Togedemaru. Even Togedemaru feels like it's a little bit more visually unique. It's still an electric steel rodent, it's electric type, so it really doesn't make any sense. My personal opinion, like I said, if it didn't look like Pikachu, Mimikyu would have a higher rating. Unfortunately, with likely better Ghost and Fairy options to be available, that and on top of that being a ripoff of Pikachu minus the electric typing, I'll have to say my desire for Ash to catch this, unfortunately, a 4.5 out of 10. Wimpod. Why should Ash catch it? Wimpod should represent the growth from being a weakling to a hero or a courageous, strong Pokemon. I expect Wimpod to evolve into a braver, more courageous, and possibly epic Pokemon, possibly close to looking like Armaldo, which really wouldn't be a bad choice. Ash is known to have cowardly Pokemon and developing them into okay Pokemon, such as Gliscor. Or break the mold and give Ash a unique Wimpod who likes to battle, who isn't a cowardly Pokemon, but loses very easily and cries until Ash trains it. The only problem with that is Wimpod would have to have an alternative ability, because apparently Wimp Out is Wimpod's only ability, and when it takes a certain amount of damage, it automatically leaves the field, so I'm not sure how that would work. Why Ash should not catch a Wimpod. There's always the possibility that Wimpod doesn't evolve, or its evolutions get worse rather than better, as in even more cowardly, and we get a Pokemon with something like Defeatist, like Archeops. Would we really want Ash with a Pokemon that has Defeatist when he can get something that's a little bit more unique, or at least less conditional, or less cowardly, I guess. My personal opinion, I forgot about that. Until a better option presents itself in regards to water type, and under the assumption Ash does not get a Poplio, this would rate pretty high. However, I am hesitant to give an extremely high number due to the unknown future of Wimpod. When it presents evolutions that show off the growth that I mentioned, this will be rated high. But for now, I will rate this a 6.5 out of 10, simply because I can't imagine Ash with this Pokemon, but I need to know the future of Wimpod first before I rate this higher. So of course, let's move on to Bounsweet. Why should Ash catch it? What a cute grass type do we have here with the concept of bouncing, which is very similar to the Hoppip line. Ash with a Bounsweet would honestly be adorable, and can you imagine an elegant like tree evolution like type Pokemon, perhaps even similar to Executor but Bounsweet style for an evolution? That'd be pretty epic. Why Ash should not catch it? But wouldn't it be too adorable for Ash? Without knowing if Bounsweet can evolve, I'm wondering if it will possess the Cherubi Cherrim evolution dynamic. And while Ash with the Cherrim-like Pokemon isn't the most horrible thing, it doesn't strike me as a Pokemon that would make a lot of sense with Ash, unless they were going with an evolved yet with an unevolved appearance, such as evolving it, but it still looks like an unevolved Pokemon, so they can get away with evolving it just randomly. My personal opinion, Bounsweet is cute, but if Ash were to hypothetically get Rowlet, if Ash was going to get a second grass type, I'd want something that I know will be an epic Pokemon with a second typing, or if it's going to be pure typing, something a little bit more epic than Bounsweet. So, right now, I will rate my desire for Ash to get a Bounsweet a 6 out of 10. Comfey. Why should Ash catch a Comfey? A fairy type will always be an interesting choice for Ash to get, and besides, it would be interesting for Comfey to lay on top of Ash's head, or see Ash worrying about such Pokemon like, Comfey! Comfey! Why Ash should not catch it? It's oddly designed. I'm not saying it's impossible, but Comfey strikes me as a Chimecho type Pokemon, a standalone Pokemon that doesn't quite say Ash, because Chimecho was caught by James, because James had a fascination with Chimecho and he ended up catching one on his own. I just can't see Comfey having a viable role within Ash's team, although Triage is definitely an interesting ability. My personal opinion, Comfey is cute, but it's not exactly the best fairy type revealed, and who knows what other fairy types have yet to be revealed. It'd be interesting, but unless it has an amazing evolution we don't know about, it could have an insanely elegant evolution that's comparable to Pokemon like Gardevoir or Leavanny, I will unfortunately rate my desire for Ash to catch a Comfey a 4.5 out of 10. Mudbray Line. Why should Ash catch a Mudbray or even a Mudsdale? You can imagine Ash with a Ponyta, since that one racing episode where Ash got to ride a Ponyta and it evolved into Rapidash. It seemed like something that fit very well. On top of that, Ash has 30 Tauros, another Pokemon that it has a similar build. What would it be like for Ash to capture a Mudbray and evolve into Mudsdale? How interesting would it be for Ash to actually capture a Pokemon that you can ride, similar to Sigito and Go-Go, but with a ground type, and actually have that be on his part of his team? You know, like how Tauros wasn't part of his team. He didn't even own Ponyta. What would it be like if Ash actually captured a Pokemon like that and it was on his team as one of his main Pokemon? Why Ash should not catch it? Its pure ground type is a little off-putting, but only because the only other pure ground type that Ash has was Donphan, and unfortunately Mudsdale doesn't exactly line up with Donphan in terms of viability. I mean, can you really say a Muddy Horse makes sense to give to Ash over a rolling tire type elephant? And would it ever be treated right? Would it ever show off stamina along with that signature move it has, high horsepower? On top of that, would a quadruped Pokemon like Ponyta, Tauros, Buffalon, Skiddo, Go-Go make sense to be on Ash's team as a main member? We haven't seen it yet, and unlike Skiddo and Go-Go, I can't imagine Mudspray or Mudsdale even having an interesting personality. My personal opinion, Mudbray, or more to the point, Mudsdale, is a very cool Pokemon. I honestly have no problem with Ash catching it, but I just don't see it really happening. But that being said, until some epically awesome ground type pops up, I'm okay with my desire of Ash catching this a 7 out of 10. Minior. Why Ash should catch it? Of all the inanimate object Pokemon revealed so far, Minior does strike me as the most unique and most likely of the option. I mean, Ash did have Boldore, and I can imagine with Ash with like a Solrock or Lunatone type Pokemon. Why Ash should not catch it? Can Minior even evolve? Ash catching a Minior would depend entirely whether or not it could evolve. If we could get some epic Claydol-like evolution, but more Meteor-based, that might actually work. Even a humanoid-like creature with arms and a meteor face, but its future is currently unknown. There's also one other problem, the colors of Minior core. There's yellow, orange, pink, and blue. While I don't care all that much, blue, orange, can you imagine the divide of people who want Ash with a specific color and then they give him something else? It would be like with me and Ash getting a Florges. Hey, great, but why'd you give him a red or yellow Florges? What was wrong with blue or even white for that matter? Heck, even orange Florges was decent. My personal opinion. Minior seems like an awesome Pokemon. I would love if Ash caught it, but because it does seem like a cool, unique little Pokemon. But it is a little Pokemon, and its evolutionary line is unknown. If it evolves, that will be a plus, but if it doesn't strike me as an LGM-type Pokemon, a Pokemon that I'm okay with Ash having. That's not a really big desire for me for Ash to get more than another Pokemon. For example, in 5th generation, it was Golett. Golett was my Pokemon that I wanted Ash to have the most. LGM was just a really nice option that I thought would be really cool with Ash, because I could imagine a comic relief unevolved Pokemon. So Minior doesn't really strike me as something like that. I can't imagine it being a unevolved Pokemon or a Halucha type standalone Pokemon. So until I know it can evolve, I'm going to remain negatively cautious on Minior and rate my desire to get one a 5.5 out of 10. If it can evolve, there is a very likely chance that the rating will be higher. I just think if it's a standalone, there are just better Pokemon available for Ash's team. Fomantis Line. Why should Ash catch it? A cute grass mantis-like Pokemon, a callback to Leavanny with elegant and amazing coloring, especially with Lurantis. What more could you possibly want for Ash? Why Ash should not catch it? If hypothetically Mallow joins Ash as a traveling companion, I'm almost certain that she'll be in possession of this Pokemon. There is no doubt in my mind that Lurantis will be Mallow's Pokemon. Here's what I would have liked to say if there wasn't a certain revelation that Mallow is in possession of a Bounsweet. I know I should have said that in regards to the Bounsweet one, but this one was a little bit more apparent, and that's why I'm bringing that up now. So, even though Mallow was seen with a Bounsweet, I still think it would be more suitable for her than Ash, at least objectively speaking. And also, what's also holding it back is because it also is just a pure grass type Pokemon, especially with like Rowlet and stuff. My personal opinion, ignoring Mallow, ignoring the grass pure typing, I would absolutely love it if Ash caught a Fomantis. And honestly, unlike Bounsweet, I can see Ash with Rowlet and Fomantis / Lurantis just fine. Besides that, the Solar Blade move, which would be amazing to have. Which is why I will rate my desire for Ash to catch a Fomantis a 7 out of 10. If Ash doesn't get a Rowlet, but is getting a Grass type, I really wonder what Grass type they'll throw at us that would make me want it more than Fomantis and Lurantis. It would have to be a 3-stage epic dual type Pokemon. It's the only way that I can think of, because right now, Fomantis is it, after Rowlet, of course. Rowlet is number 1. Oricorio. Why Ash should catch it. If Oricorio can change forms easily like Deoxys, and it's as simple as tasting a flower and changing its form that way, then obviously Ash with the Pokemon that can change between 4 typings of Fire, Electric, Psychic, and Ghost, especially with a move that's dependent on those particular typings, that would definitely be unique for Ash on Ash's team. Why Ash should not catch an Oricorio. If Oricorio cannot change form, then it's stuck with whatever one Ash catches it as. And while I'm sure since it is Ash, you would think it would get the Sensu style, the only problem with that, even though it could be argued to be one of my favorites, is that Oricorio comes off as like a chat-top Pokemon as a standalone rather than a Hawlucha. Hawlucha made sense for Ash to get. Of course, as I've said before in my other previous videos in regards to the subject, the only problem I had with Hawlucha was because of Fletchling. But it still did make sense for Ash to get Hawlucha. But Oricorio doesn't really strike me as a Pokemon like that. It strikes me as a gimmick-like standalone Pokemon like Chatot or even Farfetch'd. And while I could kind of imagine Ash with the Farfetch'd, because that would be an interesting Pokemon choice for Ash, I still don't think it makes all that much sense for Ash to have something like that, especially since I don't think Oricorio will have that great of stats. My personal opinion, Oricorio seems like an okay Pokemon, but with Rowlet and Pikipek, superior bird-like Pokemon. If they were going to have Ash capture a flying Pokemon that's different from them, I would honestly expect something less bird-like. So unfortunately, I'll rate my desire for Ash to catch a 4.5 out of 10. Oricorio would have to replace Pikipek if it was going to be on Ash's team, not counting Rowlet, and Pikipek would have to have the most boring evolutions for me to choose Oricorio over it. Sorry, I just like Pikipek a little bit better, or a lot better in this case, than Oricorio as Ash's bird Pokemon, if not Rowlet. Sandygast Line. Why Ash should catch a Sandygast, or the Palos Line. A ground ghost type. Avenge the lack of Golett that I mentioned before, and will mention again, and give Ash the ghost ground version of Muck. It's a unique typing for Ash and is also an inanimate object, which I think is a plus because I don't think Ash has enough inanimate objects. I think the only inanimate objects he has is what? Muck, Maybe Galele counts. Boldor. I think that's it. I might be missing. I can't think of all of Ash's Pokemon all at once, but I think the others are more animal-based. Even Galele is kind of up in the air in regards if you want to call it an inanimate object. Snorunt was more of an inanimate object. But anyway, why it would still be just interesting. Why Ash should not catch it. This one's hard to objectively think of without getting too biased, as in why Ash should not catch it is, well, there's personal biased reasons why. But I will point objectively to information about it. While my opinions of why Ash should not catch it are very personal, there is the information in regards to Sandygast that were Palisand, not Palagast, Palisand that make me think that it's not going to get Ash is not going to get it. So while it probably won't happen if they were to do it to the anime and Ash were to capture it, I don't think a Pokemon that can suck the life out of Pokemon to breed more Sandygast, I don't think is the best choice for Ash to get. I mean, look, I think was a little bit acceptable considering that Trip had a Lampet that we only saw in that one particular episode, but not the Sandygast line. I think that's just pushing things a little too far. My personal opinion. Alright, now I said this is going to get a little personal in regards to why Ash should not catch it, but honestly, I have to preface, I won't loathe Ash getting a Sandygast. And I'm sure it'll be something we can have a good laugh about, like Ash has a Sandygast. But I will be very disappointed if Ash were to capture this Pokemon. While Sandygast does have potential appearance-wise, it does evolve into Palisand, which I don't think is quite a proper Muck 2.0 that Ash should have. I would have a hard time imagining it fitting well with Ash's team. I mean, it would have a unique typing for Ash anyway. I just think there will be better Ghost, and definitely we already have better ground types. So that's why I'm going to rate my desire for Ash to capture Sandy Line a 4 out of 10. Wishiwashi. Why Ash should catch it. A tiny, unintimidated Pokemon that when it reaches a certain level becomes this monstrous, scary fish monster? Sign me up. Why Ash should not catch it. How would this Pokemon work on Ash's team? Am I to expect Wishiwashi to be sent out and then it changes forms similar to Zygarde Core in the anime by calling the Zygarde cells to it to become the scary fish, only not Zygarde cells, but other Wishiwashis or whatever, which I guess would be okay. It just would be an awkward to have that happen, like have Ash send out this little sardine Pokemon. I think that's what Wishiwashi is based off of, at least its solo form. But its school form, how would that actually work? That's kind of the biggest issue that I have with Wishiwashi objectively, is I'm not sure how it would work. My personal opinion. While I do believe Wimpod has more potential with Ash than Wishiwashi, the fact Wishiwashi has this epic form change kind of makes me want Ash to catch it. But again, I just don't think a fish like that would make very much sense, and I'm not really sure how it would work. So I'll just stick with my desire to Ash to catch this thing as 6 out of 10. Pyukumuku. Why Ash should catch it. A Pokemon that might evolve and having a creepy ability and concept that Pyukumuku appears to have definitely would be an interesting choice on Ash's team. If it does evolve, can we expect a dual typing? Maybe a Water Steel or a Water Rock? Why Ash should not catch a Pyukumuku. Pyukumuku screams Team Rocket. It really does. I'm sorry, it really does. If they'll join Ash in the Alolan region, which it's confirmed by the way, what better comic relief that to have Pikachu knock this thing out, only to be knocked out as well as Team Rocket is blasting off every episode. That will be the new gag. Team Rocket, Jesse or James will get Pyukumuku, and every time Pikachu knocks this thing out, it'll use its innards out to knock Pikachu out, and as Pyukumuku and Team Rocket are blasting off again, Ash has to deal with a knocked out Pikachu. That would be hilarious. Sure, it would get old pretty fast if it's used all the time or whatever, and I don't think it'll be used every single time, but it makes more sense for Team Rocket to get it than Ash. My personal opinion, still banking on Wimpod or another revealed water type in the future, but I'm not opposed to it unless it cannot evolve. If it cannot evolve, I will be very opposed to Ash getting a Pyukumuku, even though it is a very interesting Pokemon with a bunny tail. So for right now, I'll be very generous and give my desire for Ash to catch it a 6 out of 10. Morelull. Why Ash should catch it. Morelull is a grass fairy Pokemon, so it definitely poses an interesting type combination for Ash, and it would be interesting. Why Ash should not capture a Morelull. I don't want to be negative, but Morelull strikes me as a Pokemon that won't evolve. I mean, it probably will, but I have this feeling that it'll surprisingly be a standalone Pokemon. I know it doesn't really make any sense. If it does evolve, I can't imagine Morelull's evolution will be interesting. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think it will be disgusting or appealing. If it does have an evolution, I just think it'll just be meh. Could be all wrong, and we'll discuss it if its evolution is revealed. But until I see the evolution, I'm not too impressed on it. My personal opinion, Morelull isn't the worst Pokemon, I'll give you that, but I just don't care about it, really. I mean, especially when we got, like, Rowlet and Fomantis, and even though it has an edge over Fomantis simply because of its fairy typing, but unless it has an amazingly epic evolution, I will unfortunately have to rate my desire for Ash to catch this thing a 4 out of 10. If Ash catches it, oh well, not the end of the world. Unlike other Pokemon. But not this next Pokemon anyway. Just making a joke for the things that I've rated below 4 out of 10. Turtonator! Why Ash should catch it? A natural fire dragon Pokemon? Why Game Why Game Freak? Stop it with all these amazing fire types this generation. Oh, where were you in 3rd generation? Why Ash should not catch it? I'm torn. I really am torn, and you'll know why when I get to that particular Pokemon, which is in a couple of Pokemon away. Personal opinion, I am torn. Objectively, the only downside to Turtonator is that I don't think Ash would have a Pokemon like Turtonator because of its Shell Trap move. It doesn't strike me as a strategy that Ash would use, especially that would be utilized by Ash. Plus, Turtonator being caught would hinder on whether it had a pre-evolved form, something that it evolved from. Because if this was a standalone Pokemon, sort of like Druddigan, I'm having a hard time imagining Ash capturing this thing. My personal opinion, so many good fire types, Litten, this thing, whatever else they'll reveal, Salandit, so many dragon types, which I'll get into very shortly. I'm so torn that I almost don't want Ash to get a Turtonator because of the other options that feel more unique to me, but I won't hate it. If Ash gets this amazing Pokemon, I will be perfectly fine with it. In fact, my desire for Ash to capture a Turtonator is actually a high 7 out of 10. Crabrawler. Why Ash should catch it. A fighting type crab. Could you come up with a better Pokemon? Corphish, Kingler. Ash is not afraid to have crustacean-based Pokemon. The thing that makes this more viable is that it isn't a water type and it is a pure typing, especially one that likes to be on top of things. You know, it likes to be competitive. It likes to be on top of the world, basically. Seems like a Pokemon that could find a home on Ash's team. Why Ash should not catch it. The pure fighting type, even though that is a positive thing, is also off-putting. I mean, is this really what we want? Ash's potential fighting type, if you were to get a fighting type, would this be what we want? Or wouldn't we want something a little bit more unique, or maybe even a dual type fighting type? Is this what we want Ash to get? What if something cooler shows up? I mean, what if something blows Crabrawler out of the water? Plus, the whole pincers coming off during battle is kind of a little iffy. I don't know if it's something that will be brought up in the anime, but I just don't know if Ash should have a Pokemon where his Pokemon's pincers can like fall off. I mean, I don't think this is a shock the audience type anime. You know, like something shocking happens. My personal opinion, I'm not at all opposed to Ash capturing a Crabrawler. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen. So I'm down with it, with my rating for my desire for Ash to catch one, a 7.5 out of 10. Jangmo-o. Why Ash should catch a Jangmo-o? Why shouldn't Ash capture a Jangmo-o? This thing is cute, adorable, a dragon type, and it's a valiant Pokemon, and it doesn't like to back down. Why wouldn't you want Ash with a Jangmo-o, or why shouldn't Ash capture a Jangmo-o? Why Ash should not catch it. Objectively, I keep thinking, what if there's this even cooler, more epic dragon type that has yet to be revealed? And while Jangmo-o won't prevent that dragon type to be being captured, but even so, I keep thinking that there could be something even more epic. But the Jangmo-o might be just it. It might be the only epic Pokemon revealed or whatever. But yeah, anyway, my personal opinion. Here it is, folks. This is by far my seventh. This is so far my 7th generation's version of Phantup, Golett, and Riolu, Pokemon that I wanted on Ash's team more than any other Pokemon in that generation. The most so far. So far. There's literally, right at this moment, that I want more on Ash's team than Jangmo-o on Ash's team. Not Litten, not even Tapu Koko. This thing has to be on Ash's team. I thought Phantup would be a good perfect member on Ash's team in 6th generation. It was cute. They could have had a great dynamic between Phantup and Ash, and even though I would have preferred it stay unevolved, it could have evolved into Trevenant. I mean, after all, Jesse's Pumpkaboo did, but it never happened. And I so wanted Ash with the Golett, because Golurk, and maybe by proxy Golett, was designed to be a protector of Pokemon. And that was what Ash is. That's Ash's personality almost. He's a protector of Pokemon. So I thought Golett would make sense. And of course, in 4th generation, as we go back in time even further, Riolu. Of course I wanted Ash with the Riolu. Are you kidding me? There's no reason why I didn't want Ash with the Riolu and evolve it into a really cool Lucario. Of course, it never happened, and it got to the point where Ash with the Riolu Lucario would be ridiculous and dumb, but it's still stupid, I think, that it didn't happen to begin with. So, but in spite of all my failures of the past generation, I'm banking that Jangmo-o will break that curse of me wanting a Pokemon on Ash's team the most. I'm really hoping that this happens. Which is why, for the first time, in Should Ash Catch This Pokemon, I'm giving my rating, my desire for a Pokemon to be caught on Ash, a 9.5 out of 10. It will definitely be a 10 out of 10 if no other epic dragon types show up and Jangmo-o's evolution are top-notch and epic-looking. If it looks like a monstrous, spiky Ankylosaurus that's Dragon Steel or Dragon Fighting or something, then definitely a 10 out of 10. Right now, a 9.5 out of 10. I will at this moment be crushed if Ash doesn't get Jangmo-o. You will have no idea when 8th generation comes around and Ash still has not caught a Jangmo-o. I mean, like, revelation, the 8th generation is coming out. If Ash does not get a Jangmo-o at that particular point, I will definitely be crushed. I would rather Jangmo-o not repeat Phantup, Golett, and Riolu before. And that's kind of the problem. It probably will. I'm sure the anime producers will upset me and give Jangmo-o to a random character that I don't care about. But why would you do this? Why would you create this Pokemon and not give it to Ash? But there's one more Pokemon that we have to go over. Type Null. Why Ash should capture a Type Null. Sure, let's give Ash a Chimera-based Pokemon with a pure normal typing. Definitely does strike me as a unique normal typing. Why Ash should not catch it. The origin of Type Null are throwing me off as well as its name. Type Null. strikes me as a no-no for Ash because of its origins. That being said, the one thing going for it is Ash could rescue it and it might join his team. But can you imagine Ash saying, type Null, use Tri-Attack? Plus, it's supposed to rival powerful Pokemon. And as a spoiler, even though this came out after I made my notes, as I've already mentioned, type Null's real form or its alternative form or its real origins will be revealed in next month's Oricorio. Right now it's September, so in October we will be known a lot about type Null, and that might definitely change things. But anyway, my personal opinion. It's weird his name and its typing and ability are off-putting. Like I said, notes were made before Oricorio came out, so it's possible that there is something more to type Null. But I definitely won't hate it. Honestly, it fits more than Magearna if we're talking about synthetic created Pokemon. The only other problem is that it might have insanely high base stat total for a likely standalone Pokemon. Even though Gladion has one in the games, I feel like it is going to have a very high base stat total that might be a little off-putting. We'll just have to see what happens next month. And unless it has a different form with a different ability or typing, I'm not so keen on it. I guess we'll just have to wait again. But if it's reasonable, I won't be against it. So I will rate this a point higher than Magearna, because Magearna, I gave it a low rating simply because it was a mythical Pokemon that seemed like it was better off where it was at. So instead of a 4.5, type Null has a 5.5 out of 10. So anyway, that's this particular batch of Pokemon. So far, Oricorio did reveal Rockruff's evolutions, so that will have to be in part 3, and whatever happens up. I don't know if I'm going to do a part 3. I don't know I don't know how many more parts there are going to be to this particular mini series videos that I'm doing. I don't know when the next one will be. I don't know if I'll do it like right up to the release date, like if we're talking about like the beginning of November, like the beginning week of November, I might do another part, or I might just wait until all the other Pokemon are revealed and just do it then. But I feel like you may want to know my thoughts on Rockruff's evolution, so of course I might do one in November, early November before release date. I might actually, even if the games come out, I may just focus on that particular video and upload it, or get it uploaded before then. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. We're getting very, very close to the end of all the hype and all the information, and we're getting close to where all the Pokemon will be revealed. And of course, after all the Pokemon were revealed, I'll do it. I might break it up in 2 parts, or maybe just one mega video. Of course, there will be timestamps, of course, like there will be in this particular video. So anyway, that's all I have to say. Like I said, just a repeat of what I already said. I'm looking forward and hoping that Ash will get Jangmo-o. Now a little bit of spoiler, the anime revealed right now doesn't seem like Ash would get a Jangmo-o, which is something that I'm not really happy about, but I want to be wrong. Jangmo-o has to go with Ash. There is possibly no other Pokemon that I can see fitting Ash more than Jangmo-o at this particular point. If Ash gets some random Sandygast, then I'm going to be very disappointed. So anyway, I think that covers this particular video. So thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.